Yeah, what's up, guys? This is a simple job here. It's a tree that fell down in a storm a couple of weeks ago, and the footage is basically just raw footage of us cleaning it up. So there's no climbing, there's nothing really exciting in this video, and like I've been mentioning lately, in the descriptions, we've been cursed with slow internet for the past 2 years. So yeah, we got the fastest package, but then when newer ones came out, they slowed us down and kind of without us knowing. And to upload a 5-minute video, it would take 6 hours, and the rest of the internet would stop. So anyway, this is a longer video. I'm going to talk a little bit. So if you don't want to hear the talking, just turn the fucking volume down, and you can just watch this boring job. But this video is about health and safety, and specifically my run-in with the health and safety department, and how they fined me for $37,000. Yep, that's the amount, $37,000. Now, this isn't due to unsafe working techniques or anything like that. It's it's 'cause something else. So here's a story, and you can let me know your experiences at the end of the video. But basically 4 years ago, Mark and I were on the job, and we were cutting down a tree, and we had to drop one of the limbs into a parking lot that was a public parking lot, and we put pylons up and stuff like that. But arguably that part of the job took place on commercial property, cleaning up the wood, and health and safety's jurisdiction is not residential, it's all commercial, right? So the health and safety inspectors were just driving by, and they happened to stop at our job site, and that's when the trouble started. Now, this is our first year in business, so neither Mark nor I had no idea who they were. They're just two jerk-offs with white helmets. We actually thought they worked for the city. So Mark told them, he says, "Yeah, can I help you?" And they just ignored him. Oh yeah, because they don't speak English, by the way. Also, they refuse to speak English. They only speak French, which is a common occurrence in Quebec, where I live, especially with government officials and government workers. It's infuriating, really. Been dealing with it my whole life, 40 years almost. So is basically anybody that's lived here, except for French people that refuse to speak English. So yeah, there's that, but that's a topic for another video. So yeah, they refused to speak to Mark, and Mark essentially tried to stop them from entering, dangerously, our already dangerous job site, which they did not listen. And one of them yelled up to me. I was chunking down part of, the remainder of the tree. I was just on the spar, and one of them yelled to me. He said, "You have to have 2 tie-in points." Because I had my flip line, and then I had my main line, but I'd curled it up into a daisy chain because I was about 10 feet or 15 feet off the ground, and yeah, I didn't need a choker. So, and I told him, I said, "Well, when you see a second tie-in point, let me know." And I said, "Anyway, let me do my job. This is none of your business." Seriously. And then he started talking to me like I had nothing else to do, and I got so pissed off, and I said, "Look, I'm going to come down, and I'm going to answer whatever the fuck you want, but then you guys have to leave." And I said, "What's the problem? A permit's in order. So you can check it out, go talk to the customer, and fuck off." And he said, No, we don't work for the city." And I said, "Well, who do you work for?" And the other one laughs, and he says, "Huh, you work for us." So I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And they said, "Yeah, we're health and safety. Up here it's called CNESST. So he says, "Yeah, we're health and safety." And I said, "Okay, so what?" And he says, well, you answer to us. I said, no, I don't. And he said, what's your business registry number? I said, I don't have one. I said, this is my first season. I've been in business for about a month. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this. You know, I don't know how the market is. I don't know. You know, I didn't register shit. I barely made any money so far. And so he says, you know, you have to be registered. I said, no, I fucking don't. I said, what else? So he went over all my equipment up and down. And then he asked to see inside my truck. And then he mandated that I buy a fire extinguisher, because my old fire extinguisher, he didn't like it. And I'm not registered, you know, with health and safety or anything, by the way. I never registered with them. So then he looked over Mark's gear, not even from close, just like at a distance. And Mark was wearing my old ProTech helmet, which for those of you that know, you know. For those of you that don't know, it was one of the first kind of skateboard helmets, or first companies that made skateboarding helmets. And before they made skateboarding helmets, they made like whitewater kayaking helmets / mountaineering helmets. And they're not insulated or anything, but it's thick plastic with thick rubber inside, not foam, rubber. And some of them had triangles over the ears, and some of them didn't. It just depended on which model you got. But this was like the first kind of like extreme sports helmet that was used for, I don't know, several decades, I think, before anything else came out. And if you look at any skateboard helmet, like today, they're all basically cheap versions that are derivative of that original ProTech model. So anyway, I climbed with my ProTech helmet for my first season, and which is fine. And when I got my first tree climbing helmet, I passed that helmet to Mark, and it had stickers on it and stuff, which they didn't like. And they wrote a report that Mark was wearing a bike helmet, which he totally was not, and that it's not suitable for climbing trees, and it's not CE certified. It is actually, by the way. But anyway, this isn't about certification or safety, as you guys are going to see soon. So he said they basically looked at the sign on my truck after taking an hour of our time on the job site, and he made me tried to make me tell him the order in which we had 3 trees to dismantle on that job, and we had just taken one down. And then he asked me how I was going to dismantle the next one. And I said, well, I'm going to climb it and I'm going to take it down. And he said, no, where are you going to tie in? And which limbs are you going to cut and in what order? And I said, buddy, I'm going to tie into like 4 different places. And although I have a plan, which limbs I'm going to cut in what order, I have no fucking idea how it's going to actually turn out. Like, everybody knows this. You know, like... And third, fuck off. Like, you're wasting valuable fucking time for us. So he says, no. He says, I'm going to allow you an hour. I said, what do you mean? And he says, I'm going to write down, you know, that we spoke to you for an hour, so we're allowing you an hour to get back to work. You know, an hour right off. And I'm like, dude, like, you're not the one fucking paying me. You're not my boss. Like, you're not anything. I'm not fucking registered with you, so, you know, fuck off. So anyway, they fucking left. After an hour and some. And the other thing that makes sense too is that they showed up at around 10:30. So basically these guys were just fucking driving around with nothing to do. And there was an old fuck, and then there was his pencil neck dweeb fucking butt buddy. And he was teaching him the ropes. And he was like, look, here are 2 guys working. We have an hour and a half till lunchtime. If we go slow, we can make it so, you know, we go straight to lunch after this. And guys, this is their entire fucking day, these people. It's like any government worker, they exist to pass time. Like, they're trash. They should not fucking exist. I mean this in the worst fucking possible way. They're human fucking garbage. Leeches, parasites, worse than that. So, anyway, they looked up the name of my company, and after finding out that it didn't exist, they found the Kijiji ad for it, which is like Craigslist. Like, arguably shittier. But that's how we started off, and they took our address from the Kijiji ad, and then they sent me a startup/sign-up package. And the guy, like the older guy, he even told me, he said, he says, oh, he says, where are you based? And I said, El Perot. And he said, oh, I live in El Perot. I can drop you off the forms personally. And I was like, again, what are you talking about? So anyway, about 2 weeks later, I got a package in the mail. I got like a fucking envelope full of fucking letters in the mail. And it was how to register my business for the Health and Safety Committee. So they wanted to know how many employees I had. I have 0. Mark and I are partners. It's clear. By every definition, we're partners. Neither of us has an employee. So we share in everything. We share in the cost of the job. We share in the cost of the equipment. We share in the cost of the vehicle. This truck that you're looking at, like Mark bought half of it, or he paid for half of it, and he pays for half of the gas, and he pays for half of every repair. And, we split the jobs up accordingly. But, like, Mark is no employee. So that's our company structure. We're partners. But being still a very, very, very small company, we're still unregistered. So, right now, well, anyway, you'll let me know in the comments at the end of the video, because I have some questions about that also. But, so the first thing that these fucks ask you for health and safety on their form is how many employees you have, and then they ask for your company registration info. So these are all things that don't pertain to me. So I called them up, and I spoke with someone, and I told him that my business wasn't even registered yet. Therefore, I could not register with them. And I said, I don't have any employees. Therefore, I will not register with you because this does not apply to me. And he said, oh, you can register with us anyway. And it's just better that way. And I said, yeah, but I'm not going to. And I have no employees. And I'm not going to register with you. And I don't even know what the fuck you do. But I'm not going to register with you. And I said, and then I went a bit further, and maybe this was a mistake, maybe it wasn't. I don't think it was, but let me know in the comments. But it got a little bit heated, and I asked, I told the guy to leave me alone, and from now on. And he said, it doesn't work like that. I said, it does fucking work like that, and you're gonna fucking leave me alone because you guys are a bunch of fucking parasites and you shouldn't fucking exist. And I don't need you. I've been doing just fine without you. And, from where I'm standing, it just looks like you're trying to take a part of what you didn't earn. And I know you guys are going to say, well, that's what the government does. Yeah, it's true. It's what the government does. And look, if I were guilty of what they were accusing me of, which is, having employees, then I would still say the same thing. And, it'd be just as valid or just as invalid as of an argument, that I don't need them, that essentially no one needs them, and they're just taking a cut. Yeah, it's called tax off of what you make. But if I'm exempt from said tax, again, because I don't have any employees, then why the fuck am I being taxed in the fucking first place? Right? It's an error on their part. So anyway, I had this discussion with the guy, and I tell him in no uncertain terms not to fucking send me anything, and I will not register with them. And again, that it doesn't apply to me. So he says, understood. And about a month after that, we moved. We tried to move our business to another province, which didn't work. We stayed there for 6 months. And then we moved back. And we moved back to like a temporary place, where we are now, and then we found the apartment that we're in now. So we moved 3 times since we got that first set of registration letters, and we didn't hear a peep from health and safety. And why would we? I haven't been updating them on my address changes. Again, why would I? I'm not even registered with them. As I would tell them later on, when they told me that I had to update them, I said, why the fuck would I update a bunch of agencies every time I move that I'm not registered for? You know how long that would fucking take? Like it's stupid. Like, it's like telling. Anyway, it's like a lot of things. None of them make sense. Look, I understand if you're forced to register for this shit because you have employees and whatnot. One of my friends owns a garage, and he's had 8 employees for 8 years, and they came after him for the same thing, and he was actually guilty, and he had to pay all his back taxes, and for 8 years it was like $8,000 that he had to pay. So I'll tell you, yeah, I'm being charged $37,000, by the way. So basically, cut to, this is 3 years after that initial run-in. So this is a year ago, pretty much today, give or take. I got another letter in the mail, but it wasn't from health and safety. It was from the government. So I was worried because I hadn't done my income tax in 4 years because I had moved around a lot, and I hadn't made a lot of money. I think for 2 of the 4 years I made $7,000 that year. So that's what it's like. I had a little run in the summer, a decent run at the start of the business, well, for me anyway, and then for the rest of the year it was dead, like Fred with a bullet in his head. And most starting businesses fail. That's the reality of it. So it's been 4 years for us. We're still alive. It's a very good sign. We're probably going to be okay. But the first couple of years it was tough. So that's that. So as I was saying, last year, approximately a year ago today, I got a letter from the government in the mail, and I had already gotten a letter from the government at my parents' house a few months before, reminding me, in a friendly way actually, that I hadn't done my income tax in the past 4 years, and that if I didn't file it soon, that I would be missing out on potentially valuable benefits. Now, I don't give a shit about any of those benefits or whatever, but what I do give a shit about is not going to jail for being accused of tax evasion or some shit. And so I dotted all my I's and crossed my T's, and I got all my receipts in order that I saved, by the way, from the climbing store for 4 years, and all the receipts that I had written out to customers. And I went to see an accountant that was recommended to me from from one of our customers. Pretty much the only accountant I knew anyway. But yeah, he took care of my income tax for 4 years, and I cleared that shit up with the government. But that letter that I got at my house, this was before I had taken care of all of that. It was a letter from the government, and I thought, oh shit, they're finally coming after me with fines, for not filing my income tax or something like that. And now they're going to say I have a business and that I owe this much, and that can't happen. So that wasn't the case. It was very odd. The envelope was from the provincial government, but the letter inside was from health and safety. And they make it seem like the two are interlinked, and there was a case number and everything like that. And there was an amount owed, and the amount owed was $37,000, or it was $27,000 at the time, actually. So the first thing I did was call the provincial government and give them, the case number on said letter. And the person on the phone told me that A, health and safety has nothing to do with them. So if I have an issue with them, i.e. a debt with them, or a fine with them, that I have to take it up with them. So the provincial government, they cannot garnish my wages or my salary or anything like that due to, a supposed debt with health and safety. So that happened, and where was I? I'm sorry, I'm getting fucking flustered talking about this shit. It really fucking pisses me off. Yeah, so anyway, and so, the agent tells me that I have to deal with them on my own, but the good news is, they can't fucking seize my assets or my salary or my salary. I don't make a salary, any of my bank account or anything like that. And the case number that I gave him, when he types it in, he told me that the case was inactive, for 4 years. So, I have a feeling that they registered me 4 years ago against my will as a company to health and safety, and then probably when I called them up to yell at the guy, they deregistered me. That's why the case number is inactive, but through some sort of mistake or glitch or human error, I'm being charged now. And okay, so the amount now that I'm being charged, the $27,000 up to $37,000 now. It's basically because they determined on the spot, just by looking at us one day, that Mark was my employee, and they also determined that the average revenue for a commercial tree removal company, which I am not, but the average revenue for a commercial tree removal company is $95,000 a year. So I have to pay 8% of what would be, $95,000 a year for 4 years, and to justify like paying a tax on Mark's supposed salary, which is completely fucking ridiculous. And yeah, okay, the math is not exactly right. Well, that's an understatement. But the original amount, it was $17,000, and then it went up to 27, and then it actually went up to 37. And there's, I've been sent this amount over and over and over and over again, probably 15 times in the past year. And even the lawyers that I hired to get me through it, they said it's very complicated and hard to understand by legal terms. So yeah, obviously I prepared myself as best I could. I got a lawyer, but before that, after calling the government office up and finding out that they cannot seize any of my stuff, I called health and safety up to get to the bottom of why they were charging me. And the lady that I spoke to, who was in charge, she's the chief grand inquisitor of my case or whatever, I told her everything that happened, and she basically told me that the inspector made his decision and it was too late. And I said, but he didn't make his decision based on anything. I said, he just showed up and he decided this is how much money I made. And she says, well, I have to prove that I didn't make that much money. And I said, no, I don't. You have to prove them fucking guilty. Otherwise, I'm innocent. It's not vice versa. And, oh yeah, this is all in French, by the way. She wouldn't speak to me in English. And Mark has a video of me arguing with her in French for about an hour, wherein whatever. I might upload that later, in case you haven't realized I'm nearing the end of my rope. So, I'm past my boiling point also. Patience is non-existent anymore. So, and you'll see why. So after arguing on the phone with her for probably the better part of 2 hours, she told me that even though basically my points were valid, the inspector had made up his mind 4 years ago from the Kijiji ad that they found, and they determined that this is how much money I made and everything. They didn't even They didn't even look at my website to determine any of this. So even in the time since, so this is how stupid they are. So again, it's an old irrelevant ad from an address I haven't lived at in 4 years. So so because the inspector already made his mind, it was too late. Now, one is able to contest this amount being demanded, but if you contest it, get this, you have to pay the full amount first. And then you have to fill out the forms in legalese, which are extremely complex. But you have to do this after paying the amount. Otherwise, they don't even let you contest it. And you can do it online. But again, unless a payment goes through, you don't even have access to the next page. So, yeah, it's like that. So, yeah, okay, there's ways around that. You can get a printed package of the forms and stuff. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not paying shit. So, let it be known. They will not get a penny, ever, of that amount that they're fucking claiming. like they're gonna have to pry it from my cold, dead fucking hands. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. And, so, yeah, naturally, Mark and I started looking for lawyers. And this stupid bitch on the phone told me that it was up to me. That's how the conversation ended. Despite my arguing against it, that it was up to me to prove that I didn't make that much money. So I had to show her 5 years, not just 4. I had to show her 5 years, including the year before I started tree work for some reason. While I worked at the fucking phone company and cleaned grease traps and worked at another warehouse, I had to show her apparently my income tax returns for that year and for the following 4 years to prove that I didn't make $95,000 a year. Oh, and they adjusted the $95,000 a year to $110,000. And they adjusted the amount retroactively. I don't know why they did that, but I'll get to that a little bit later. So yeah, they did that, and God, it's such a fucking farce. Again, I'm sorry if my story is all over the place. I'm trying to keep it as chronological as possible. But like I said before, I'm so pissed off because of this. I'm shaking as I'm telling it. So it's kind of hard for me to stay focused on one point. But basically, yeah, so she told me that I had to prove that I did not make what they accused me of making. And I also had to show that on my income tax, I did not claim any kickbacks for having 1 or more employees. And I said, okay, no problem. I can prove that. I don't see why I should have to. But if that's all it takes, then no problem. And then I told her, I said, people lie on their income tax, eh? And she says, yeah, but it's the official form. So, just tell me officially, basically, that this is how much you made. And, she says that's the first step to making this go away. And I said, okay, fine. So I started to go about, the rigorous process of trying to fill out the forms and everything. And honestly, they're hard to fill out. I didn't understand how to fill them out. And for other reasons, we decided we should get a lawyer. So we started going through lawyers looking to see, who would take our case. We met with 2 guys at first. And they gave us an hour consultation for free, which means that they weren't busy. Who the fuck has an hour to give away for free, especially if you're a lawyer? And anyway, they told us for $5,000 that they would try to get them off our back, but they couldn't guarantee anything, meaning they were going to learn as they went, and they had no idea how to do this sort of thing. And they also charged $500 an hour for their combined services of the lawyer and his paralegal. It's like $350 an hour plus $150 an hour. So basically, for $5,000, you're getting approximately 1 day's work. You're getting about 10 hours of work. And it's not 10 hours of work like the work that Mark and I are doing now. It's 10 hours of like fucking sitting around and like not doing fuck all. Like you Google something, you fill out a form, and they're not busting their ass. So no, we rejected them. We called a couple of other places. It was actually hard to find a business lawyer that handled that sort of thing. We called one, and he says I can refer you to someone else that does that. And we called her, and she asked me to tell her exactly what was going on, and I did. And then she asked me to send her all the documents that Health and Safety sent me, and she would look them over and see if she could help or not. But she wasn't going to tell me unless she knew exactly what she was dealing with. So this is a good sign. I said, okay, cool. So I sent her all the documents. I kept calling lawyers. I talked to another one who was very good, and he told me basically that I didn't do anything wrong, and this sort of thing happens all the time, and that Health and Safety are in fact clowns, and just kind of, don't give them any money obviously, but just play ball with them and do what they say, and then if they still rule against me, then to give them a call. He said for the time being, he said if I hired him right off the bat, I would be wasting my money because I would be paying him to basically fill out paperwork for me that I could potentially do myself. And I said, okay, well, let's just say I hired you. What would you charge? And he says, well, for $1,000, I would get like a case in order, and I'd call them up and explain to them what happened, and I might not be able to make it disappear completely, but a good chunk of the work would be done. And I said, okay, well, what about, seizing my assets and stuff? Can they do that? Because the lady threatened, okay, I'll get to that later. And he said, no. He said, don't fear the whip before it cracks. So the reason I bring this up is because when I was speaking to the bitch on the phone, the health and safety bitch, I asked her, I said, what if I refuse to pay? And she says, well, you can't. I said, well, what if I do? What if I don't pay? What are you going to do, throw me in jail? And she says, no, we don't have the authority to do that. I said, okay, so what can you do? And she said, we can send a bailiff to seize your assets. And I said, how the fuck is that possible? How can you do that? So she says, well, we can, because we're right. So anyway, that's cut to. That's why I asked a lawyer, and he told me not to worry about it. And I told him also, I said, well, look, you sound really good, especially telling me that I don't necessarily need you right away. But I gave my documents to someone else about a week ago, and I'm waiting to hear from her, and then I'll know what to do. And he said, yeah, it's a good idea. And he said, she could know what she was talking about. That's what I was hoping for. And, he wished me best of luck, and he told me to call him back if there are any issues later. So pretty much the next day, the lawyer that had all our documents called back, and she said that she could take our case. And I said, okay, great. And she sent me some forms to fill out. And, Mark and I felt like we had a fighting chance. So I filled out the forms. I paid her the $1,500 retainer to get to work. And about 10 days later, I got an email from her law firm saying that I needed to resend the forms in PDF because otherwise they couldn't read it or something like that. So, okay. And so I sent them in PDF. And, I had to, rescan and shit. It took a while. There were a lot of forms. It took, over an hour to do. And they don't need them in PDF, by the way. It's just a placeholder. Anyway, I'll get to that later. It's to run up the billable hours and to eat through the retainer. Not all lawyers will do this, just like not all arborists are going to charge and pretend to cut down the tree. Some of us actually cut down the tree that we charge money for. Who knew? But anyway, these fucks, this is what they do. So, 10 days later, resend it in PDF form, which we did. And, then there was something else that they needed, which we sent. But there was another delay. Anyway, the average response time from the law firm was 10 days. And by the time I got all my paperwork in order, she had told me that she had passed on the case to another lawyer, who had passed on the case to another lawyer, who was going on vacation for 2 weeks, in a couple of days. So he couldn't do anything with our paperwork. And that was our fault because, if we had sent everything in PDF, a couple of weeks ago, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, sure. Okay. And so he went on vacation for 2 weeks. And, we're getting more letters in the mail and we're dealing with it in our own way. And we're sending them to the law firm. And saying, can you give this to what's his name when he comes back, or put it on his desk, or give it to the person handling his bit. So apparently the law just stops, every time a lawyer goes on vacation. So anyway, he goes on vacation for 2 weeks, and I get an email from the law firm, 10 days after I send them something telling me that when he comes back on such and such a day, he's going to give me an update or whatever, so to give them any forms that we got in the time being. And I said, okay, fine. So, same bullshit, right? So anyway, he ends up, I don't know if he went on vacation for a month, but it took him a month to get back to me. It took the law firm a month to get back to me when he was supposed to be on vacation for 2 weeks. So, no, it didn't really have any impact on the case. I'm still fucked either way. But that's how long it took him to get back to me. And when he got back to me, I typed up a long letter saying that my expectations had not been met on this case. And that I needed, I managed my expectations and I told him what I wanted. I asked, I said, what can I expect, when can I expect this to fucking end? And I was already billed, while this guy was on vacation, I was billed another $1,500 for services that I had to pay for them to proceed. So basically I paid $3,000 to this law firm to do fuck all for me. And this fucking asshole was supposed to send in a kind of request for an appeal that they had that health and safety had made a miscall, and the appeal was supposed to say basically three things: that A, I don't do commercial work; B, I did not make the amount that they're accusing that I made. I made way less; and C, it doesn't apply to me because I don't have any fucking employees. Mark is my partner. And when I told the guy this, he said, "Oh yeah, those are good points." And I said, "Well, what the fuck were you gonna say?" Because he hadn't thought of those. And he said, "Oh, I was gonna say that you missed the deadline on answering to them because you moved away and you didn't tell them that you changed addresses, and that should buy us some time." I said, "Buy us some time for what though? Like, that doesn't fucking mean anything. It just makes me out to be a fucking idiot. But again, I'm not registered with these people. It doesn't fucking apply to me. It shouldn't. And now they're on me for my whole fucking life? No, that's fucking wrong. Like, dude, I'll fucking leave the country and come back as a fucking illegal, with a new identity. I'll go in blackface and I'll become Mexican. Whatever. I'm not paying them shit, before that fucking happens." So anyway, this is what this asshole is supposed to fucking fill out for me, and I get a letter, I get an email later on saying, oh yeah, and he says, but before I fill it out, he says, I have a deadline on Wednesday, and I'm not going to fill it out before the deadline. I'm going to fill it out at the very last minute to buy us enough time as possible. And before I send it, I'm going to send it to you. So if there's anything I missed out, or if there's anything you suggest, you can add it. And I said, okay, good idea. So he never sent it to me. And so I complained to the law firm a few weeks later after not hearing anything from them. And, I wrote everything down that bothered me and shit. And they told me that my case was going to go to another guy, because the guy that was handling it before didn't work at that law firm anymore. And for sure this guy was on his way out, like, when he took the case. And he was young. He was like he wasn't even 30 years old yet. So he had his vacation planned for like the very end of his work time there. That's probably the equivalent of his 4% or his kind of like severance pay or whatever you want to call it. And he didn't give a fuck. And I complained also that he never sent me, his argument in my defense. And the law firm said, oh no, he never did. Oh, well, we'll send it to you. They never did. Health and Safety actually sent it to me. And this guy, like, it's just a form that you fill out. He didn't write anything. He didn't write anything in my defense. There's like an option that you fill out, and it says like wrongfully accused or something, and that's it. That's all he wrote, like in point form. That's it. And we had a call. I had to go on a phone call with him, like, while he was still repping us, about a month and a half before this. And him talking to Health and Safety at the same time, and he didn't say anything. It was a 2-hour call. It cost me $700, because it was $350 an hour to basically be told everything I already knew. And it was a Zoom call, and see the guy just nod the entire time. And it was very fucking disappointing. And, lately, so when I complained about all this to the law firm, they had said, okay, well, your case is going into someone else's hands now. Another junior fucking shithead. And I said, no, fuck that. I want to know, first of all, do you guys ever do cases like... Does this guy do cases like this? Has he won? How many has he lost? The ones that he lost, why did he lose? And what can you guarantee me? And also, I'm tired of being fucking beat up against the ropes. I want you to fucking hit back. I want you to fucking countersue. I do the most dangerous fucking job in the world. And now I have pressure of losing my assets, possibly going to jail, going bankrupt. If I do have to pay this amount, how am I going to do it? Do I have to take even more dangerous jobs I ordinarily wouldn't take, or do I have to do more jobs in a day? And all this wrecks our concentration. So we can't be dealing with this. So, there has to be something for this. I don't know, emotional damage, what do you want to call it? But not being guilty isn't enough. Now fuck them. I want something from them now. And I think a good lawyer will see this, and instead of playing a weak version of defense, which is what we've been getting. So, I ask all these questions, and so they call me back, and they don't answer a single question. And, the lady that I had hired originally, she says, okay, I'm the one handling your case right now. And I said, well, I don't give a fuck. I said, you were the one handling it in the first place, and all you did was pass a buck and pass a buck and pass a buck. And it cost me $3,000 so far. And she says, well, yeah, and the old lawyer, before he left, he was going to bill you because apparently he did another $3,000 worth of work. And I said, yeah, okay, bullshit. I'm like, no, he didn't. No, you didn't. And it never happened. He didn't do fuck all. But so they're going to charge us $6,000. But because I complained, they decided that they would waive the other $3,000, and that she would take the rest of my case on for free unless I won. So she only charged me if I won. And she said that the last step to do would be to file again for an injunction or whatever fuck. And I have a monthly remittance slip where I have to declare how much my employees made. And she says, oh, you might just have to write 0 and send it in, and then maybe it'll all go away. So we did that. It didn't all go away. And then she said she had to file a complaint with another guy. And I fucking yelled at her too for like an hour. So she had to file a complaint with another guy and wait for the response before we did anything. And okay, so she did all that. And then I got the results in the mail. I'm still guilty. So I still owe $37,000. So I sent those copies to her. And that was over a month ago. I got no response. I called her up. I got no response. And then just last week, I got another bill from him, again, for the same amount, $37,000. I called her up. I got an automatic response saying she was on vacation. And that their law firm was closed until the 3rd, but they're open. But, she's going to be back on the 11th. And it really sucks now because the next step is to take them to court. And I have to take them to court. I have to summon them, apparently. I can't just not do anything. And I asked the stupid lawyer bitch, I said, what if I don't summon them to court? I said, why don't I just fucking leave it? And she says, well, they can seize your assets. And how the fuck can they seize my assets without a judge decreeing that I'm guilty? I don't understand. These are all questions that, are fucking unanswered. I called the original lawyer back that told me not to fear the whip before it cracks or whatever. And he was as flabbergasted as I was. He says I'm right about everything. And he says if you were me, he would complain to the bar, file a formal complaint that they mishandled my case, ask for full reimbursement, and get a new lawyer from the Bar Association. And supposedly it should have been a very simple open and shut matter. The other thing too, none of my lawyers, even though the only thing health and safety asked for was a copy of my tax returns, basically, neither of my lawyers disclosed how much I made. And when I got the letters saying that I was still guilty, that was one of the reasons I was still guilty, was that I never disclosed my tax returns. So I don't know why I gave them to my lawyers, 4 or 5 months ago, and they took copies of them and everything like that, but they never fucking sent them in. I don't know what they're fucking playing at. I told them too. I said, I don't know what the fuck you're planning. You're waiting for them to get tired and then you're gonna hit them with an uppercut. Like, come on, like, show me something. but there's nothing happening so far, and I don't want them to seize my assets, but at the same time I'm not paying their fucking fine. So we're past the end of the video, so if you have any experience on this matter, write it in the comments, please. And with any luck, next video I'll be talking about the Department of Transport. So that's another fun one. So thanks for watching, and yeah, thumbs up. Take care.